Hey, you might notice some audio issues in this episode. We're sorry. Let's go! Welcome to You're On in 5, The Art of Understudying.
The only podcast to celebrate the work of actors in understudy roles.
Understudying demands tons of preparation with minimal rehearsal.
Or sometimes none at all.
But it can end in triumphant glory.
In these conversations, we'll amplify the diverse voices of actors who have understudied. We want to hear about the artist's technique, experience, and journey.
As well as whatever's on our mind that day. Hi, I'm Scott. I'm an actor, teaching artist, acting coach, podcast host, and all-around creative dude. You might know me from the production of Private Eyes at Piccolo Theater, where I understudied all the male roles.
And I'm Elana, and I have done a lot of things in theater for a long, long time. And you might know me from 2 runs of A Lesson Before Dying with Lincoln Square Theater, about 6-7 years ago.
Woo-woo. And our guest today is Nicholia Q Aguirre. You might know Nicholia from a production of Steel Magnolias at the Arc Theater. Welcome, Nicholia.
Welcome.
Hey, how are you guys? Nice to be here. So excited.
Excited to have you. Yeah. We're going to jump right in, Nicholia. Our first question is, what was your very first understudy gig?
My first understudy gig was at Redtwist Theater for Shirley Good and Mercy. It was wonderful.
That's awesome. And you never went on. I understand you never went on.
Yeah, no, I did not. We did have, we were guaranteed a day that we would go on, but that didn't happen either.
They lied to you?
No.
Oh, okay.
No.
seems like they lied to you.
Some things happened and it just didn't happen.
Okay.
It happens.
Did you feel prepared where it had that happened, or if you had to go on, would you have been prepared?
I would have been prepared, definitely. Because it was my first understudy gig, I was probably there. No, I know I was. I was there more than the times I was supposed to be, because I was just so worried, and I wanted to make sure that I was, prepared. Not only my lines were down, but my blocking was there. And then I got to hear the director's notes as well. So it was important to me. So I was there probably at least 75% of the time.
Wow, that's
good.
I was really nervous about it.
When you were in the rehearsal room,
Mm-hmm.
what did you use the time for? And was it straight up listening and watching, or was it more like, were you often on your own, like running your lines or something?
It was definitely in the room with the actors and the director the entire time, listening. And when the lines came up, I made sure that I was kind of mouthing them, to myself, that kind of thing. I didn't spend a lot of time outside of the room at all. It was basically in there because I wanted to hear everything. I wanted to know exactly what the director was looking for in certain moments, certain beats. So to me, it was important.
Did you feel supported by the stage manager, the directors, the actual cast? Did you feel taken care of as an understudy? One of the things we find is it's a wide range of how understudies are treated, and the experiences vary from theater to theater, cast to cast, stage manager to stage manager, stuff like that. So, yeah, what was that part of that process like for you?
It was a wonderful process. The stage manager was awesome. Brandon, the director was great. Wardell Julius Clark. It was, and the cast was just and I understudied for Renee Lockett.
Oh.
And she was just beautiful. She was, asking me, hey, is there anything, do you have any questions for me? Is there anything I can help you with? It was a wonderful experience overall.
That's fantastic.
When was that?
Oh gosh, that was back in 2018.
Okay. So what is your journey in acting? Where did you start and how did you get to where you are now?
That's so interesting. I read this book called The Artist's Way by Julia Cameron. And one day I was at the gym, and as I was leaving, there was some flyers for community theater over Devonshire in Skokie for Little Shop of Horrors. It was the last day to, go and audition. So I took a selfie, blew it up, so it was really pixelated. I had no resume, and I went in, and they asked me to stay, and I was like, "Oh, okay, okay." And I wound up singing with two other young ladies and landed the role of Chiffon,
No
one of the
way.
doo-wop girls. Is it Chiffon?
Yep.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I was
That
shocked
is.
too.
When was that?
This was 8 or 9 years ago.
Okay.
And before that, you hadn't really done any theater?
I hadn't done. Like my freshman year, I did some, theater because the English teacher was the director, and she asked me. She said, why don't you come in?" And I said, "Oh, okay." And I did. I had a great time, but I hadn't done anything after that. But after Little Shop, I decided I would go to Piven, take a class, and I had a ball. It was like being a kid. Kids go on the playground, they play. They don't care about how you play. You don't have to work. You just play. You ask another person, "Hey, you want to play such and such?" And they say, "Yeah." And I think the first class was something like theater, games, and improv or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
It was great. I had a ball.
Okay, so you did Chiffon. I saw on your resume you also did Who's Afraid of Virginia Woolf, and you played Martha.
Yes, I did. It was, for me, it was my best performance to date. It was a lot of work. And I just enjoyed the character, and I really embodied it and wrapped it around me, if you will. And it was a wonderful experience.
That's awesome.
Wait a minute. So when we did G's Bend, what was that, like your third show? Like, wait, because that was like some years ago.
G's Bend was in 2014, and it was my first professional gig.
No shit. Oh yeah, yeah. I think I remembered that coming up later, but like I didn't remember it until you just reminded me.
My teacher actually kicked me out of class. I was at Piven, and my mentor, Joanne, she kicked me out of class. She said, "There's some auditions going on upstairs, and I want you to go." And I couldn't believe it. I say she kicked me out. She pushed me out the door and shut, because I wouldn't go on audition.
Uh-huh.
And it was the best. I thank her to this day.
That was a fun show. It was great.
I'm not familiar. What was the show? What's it about?
So there's a quilt in G's Bend. So they made quilts. It's in the South. It's true story. So the woman who wrote the play like went and interviewed the families, and they had started making these quilts as a kind of community building, kind of a money making like the thing, but there was just all this like history and racial stuff surrounding it. I wish, like, I'm glad she said it was 2014, so I feel less of a dick for not remembering the details, because it's literally part of Black history. So I feel like a jackass. Nicholia, can you clarify what the show was about?
Yeah, it was during that time when they were talking about, that was the march on
Across the bridge, yeah.
Selma?
So the voting rights and civil rights.
Yeah.
There was so much.
It was a lot, but it was a wonderful production.
And like there's a museum that has the quilts up, like in real life, and it was great. It was the two of us and Kat Davidson and Sean Blake.
Yes.
It was a wonderful story to tell, and but yeah, I remember now you telling us that was your first, but wouldn't have known that without you telling. It was, I mean, everything. But working at Fleetwood Jourdain under Tim's direction is always like a master class. And I had the fortune of working there, I think 6 years, maybe 7, because I always forget the year that we did vagina monologues. And so I think 7. And so like every year I felt like I grew as an artist, like leaps and bounds. And it's the nature of the process. God, we rehearsed 3 weeks 5 nights a week. And then the run is only, like, we have a preview on a Friday, but then it's only Saturday and Sunday for 3 weeks, but so we have only 3, sometimes 4. So we'll have like Tech Week is the 4th week, but it's just really condensed process. And so you are in it from day one. You learn so much about yourself, about your craft, and like, it's really great. So G's Bend, having going through that process, but with the stuff about real people and our history, and like telling stories, and how those quotes meant to the community, and how it strung this history together, because we go through, I think, is it like 3 decades of time?
We start off as young girls, right?
Yeah, and then I have to play another young girl later at the end, like this. Like, but yeah, we start up as children, we grow, and because Kat was like the younger one, so like I was like her mom, and then she ages, and I end up playing her daughter.
You know how nervous I was that first show when we went out, and you calmed me down so much.
I did.
Yes, I was like, oh my God, here it is. We had put in all this work, so we were ready. And I just was like, and you had, I think you even grabbed my shoulders and had me breathe. You don't remember? Yes. You had me breathe. You're like, take deep breaths. You got this. We're gonna go out here and have fun. It's all about having fun, and we did. We really.
Hey.
Nicholia, as you were kind of going into your like acting career, how did you like? G's Bend kind of sounds like it was a little bit heavy. What led you in your like journey?
You know what? Just like Elana said, we learned so much on that journey, and the director Tim Rose was really good with sending us articles to read and to research. So we had some knowledge of the background and the history and where it was all coming from. And I think, didn't he also bring in someone that did quilts, I think, too? Elana, I can't remember, but someone that actually came in and was showing us about that.
And they were,
and we even were
part
able
of our
to
set.
borrow. Yeah. So it's so important, depending on the piece, and this one in particular, to know exactly what was going on during that time, how these quilts came about.
Yeah. I love doing a play that is set in like real life history, because then, if you can get the original documents and like go to the places, if you're lucky enough to go to the places where these things happened, that can be really powerful too. I did a show with Michael Graham, who was our director for Casa Valentina. It was called $10 House, and this story took place in Wisconsin. It was just like a sweet little play about this man in the 1940s who moves back home to rural Wisconsin, and he decides to open up a restaurant in like the frigid cold, and he falls in love with his handyman, and they live together for like 40 years. Until they died. And I mean, they didn't think of themselves as gay, but like they were just people, And so anyway, we got to go to the place where they lived, in their house. Their house is called Pendarvis. And it was just amazing. We did that before we started rehearsals, and then we went back there afterwards for a performance, and then actually the year after we came back as well and did the show again. It was just amazing to like have a real life story. I mean, some of the people in the town like knew our characters, and so like to get a compliment like, oh my gosh, when you walked on stage you were Bob Neal, and I'm just like, whoa. Like, thank you. I'm glad I could do that.
That's awesome. Nicholia, what was the next understudy gig you had after that first one?
I had just got through teaching a class at Piven, and I get this text that says that I had booked an understudy gig at Steppenwolf called The Roommate, and Phylicia Rashad was the director of the production. I dropped my phone, I screamed, and everybody said, "Are you okay? Are you okay? What's going on?" And I'm like, I was floored.
Yes.
so excited.
You auditioned for it? Yeah?
I sent in a self-tape for it. Yeah.
Oh, wow. And then they just hired you on that? Wow. That's awesome.
It was just unbelievable. And Sean Blake was the one that coached me for that.
Oh, awesome.
And Charlie, he did the taping, and Sean coached me through that. So yeah.
Oh, that's so awesome.
So thank you, Sean. Thank you. And
Big
Charlie.
ups. Big ups. So then, okay. So talk about that process, like, and your experience there and such.
It was wonderful. It is probably out of all the understudy gigs I've had, that one is like at the top. Not only because Phylicia was there, she just, to watch her work. And I understudied for Ora Jones, the character for Robin, and to watch these young ladies work, because it was just, the roommates, just two characters, right? So she took the time when it was our first time to get on our feet and, have our own rehearsal. Do you know she was there? She actually showed up and gave us, like, I say about an hour or so of her time. And then she took me aside and she, and let me say, you always want to make a role your role, even if you're understudying, right? I was so nervous that I did everything that Ora did.
Yeah.
Sure.
And she stopped me and she's like, I love when she talks. She's like, baby, come here. I thought I was talking to Miss Huxtable herself. And she took the time. She pulled me aside. She said, I want you to be you. You don't want an imitation. I want you to do you. I want to see what you have. And I really thank her for that. The crew was great. Laura was the stage manager and Christine was the assistant. They were all just beautiful. It was a wonderful experience. I talk about learning so much.
Well, you mentioned earlier that you had never gone on in any of your roles, so you didn't get to go on in that one.
Or I did come in late one time. I was sitting there looking, I was just watching the door. She was, she was running late, traffic, whatever. And Laura was like, I don't know. So I was just sitting, so, you got your nerves going, like, oh my gosh, am I really going to go on? And then she walks through the door, which of course I was happy to see her. But at the same time, I was like, it would have been nice.
For sure.
So, did they require you to be at the theater like every performance, like in case somebody didn't show up? Or
no, we had to. There was like it was a required number of times that you had to be there.
Okay. Mm-hmm.
You could decide, and you just like any other performance, you signed in, and you went upstairs and you could watch it from there, or you could stay in the green room and watch it. A lot of times I stayed in the green room just because I wanted to walk it through to really get the blocking in my body. So, and if you've been, the green Steppenwolf it's a really nice large space and area to work.
Yeah. There is, most places will have like, you have to be within 15 minutes, 30-minute like distance every performance. Does Steppenwolf have that kind of requirement?
Yeah, you had to be, I believe it was like 30 minutes, distance. So wherever you were at, you couldn't get there within 30 minutes, then you were in the wrong spot.
Exactly.
It's like an alarm went off. Wait a minute.
Right.
Oh, that's nice that you got to, kind of rehearse like as the show's going. I know for me, when I was understudying Casa Valentina, I wrote down my blocking as much as I could. Oh no, it wasn't Casa. It was a different show. I actually recorded. I probably shouldn't have, but it was just for my own use. I recorded the scenes that my character was in just so I could wrap my head around exactly where he's going every time. But acting it out physically is the most important thing, because if you get up there and you know all the words but you don't know where you're going, you're gonna it's just not gonna come to you.
I had when I got suckered into going in at Second City in Detroit, because I wasn't an understudy at the time, and I had to learn the show pretty much overnight, and I had a rehearsal. The first show was fine, right? I did it like I had been doing the show all along, but it was also my first experience with a 2-show day, and they were pretty close together. So the second show, I couldn't do basically. So I would never remember where I was supposed to be. And so the other actors, they were literally like dragging me around. And once they got me to the spot, I could get the lines out. But there were several times where I was literally moved into position, But I had to do the show again the following night, and I was fine again. But like that, I didn't have the capacity. I had learned it over 24 hours, like it was very strange, but just in terms of like once I was where I was supposed to land, I did have the lines. But from one moment to one end of one scene, beginning of the next, no, I don't know. It was pretty ridiculous. So, yeah.
I will say too that it's interesting when you have a lot of costume changes.
Oh, yeah.
A lot of, and that's the way it was in The Roommate. I had, I think, 5, maybe more. So you have to, you're constantly running, changing in and out of costumes, trying to make sure, and they have someone that helps you, but still, that's a lot of changing.
Yeah. And the time, that's a choreography in and of itself, because that timing is so specific.
Absolutely. Yeah. Nicholia, so you've understudied a few times. How have you kind of taken what you've learned from understudying into when you're playing a principal role?
Prepare. You always have to be on it, on your game, no matter what. And it for me anyway, it's definitely more difficult when you're an understudy because there is a relationship that you develop with the other actors in a scene. So I think that's the biggest thing for me. Is you just have to be prepared, whether you're understudying or you're one of the principals. You have to be prepared. It's not a good feeling when you're not.
It's pretty terrible.
It's just the worst.
Yeah. No, there was one show I understudied. I'm not going to mention it because I was not prepared at all. And the first rehearsal, one of the actors came in and, it was a table read, but there was one part where he had a big monologue and so he picked up his script and started like walking around the table, and clearly it worked on it. Like he, had it all in his body. And before that, I had always been like, no, I will not memorize before rehearsal because I don't want to get those ideas in my head or start building something that is not with the director and the other actors. But then I don't know, I think probably Casa Valentina was the one where I was just like, no, you can memorize a lot before rehearsal because that's only going to help you in the long run. And maybe you memorize it by rote. You do it the Meisner way where you just talk it. I can't. That's when you're working on like a lead role where it's like 20 pages of dialogue, then like I can't talk like that for hours.
Yeah, don't ever do that. Yeah. That sounds crazy. I think I have a challenge with it, but I also find there's huge benefits to it. One of the benefits is if you do succeed at memorizing, then I find that I have actually more freedom in my flexibility once I start working with everyone, right? So it's not, because if I get it in my bones to where I can actually listen in real time and respond in real time and like pick up if in case, that's not my actual cue, then it's so embedded. That means for me that it's going to be different every time I do it anyway on some level because it feels fresh. So the sooner I can get it in my system in that way, then when I'm working with, once the process begins, it's not as challenging for me to like, because I haven't necessarily been married to my performance of it, as I work to learn it. And I find that, it helps my process. Now, there are times where it's been asked of me or I didn't succeed and really regretted it. In fact, one of the shows I did at Fleetwood, Jourdain, I just didn't succeed. And that was a two-hander, and it was incredibly difficult considering the time constraints as I described them, to have to spend time on lines. And both of us, came up short a little bit, but I think that I know that I had a sense of it'll be easier for all of this to stay once we're in the space and once we're working. And it actually didn't get easier. And we ended up, spending a lot of time running lines, which did not please our director one bit, but that was a reminder for me, like that extra prepare, do that work. And that was really dense. It's just 2 people. And those, it wasn't a short show, it wasn't a 20-minute show. So we lost. So I think if ever I am definitely asked to do it again, I definitely will because it is, it felt really shitty to have to take up time running lines, when we had the script for months.
Yeah, I think it's important to have something in mind of what you feel the character, where she or he is in that moment, because then, and every director is different, but I think you give the director something to work with as well, to see, because they're going to have their ideas of what they see. And sometimes you could bring in something and they're like, oh, I like that. And it changes the whole scope of where the director might have been going with it. So it's nice to, it's like a collaboration. I think directors, actors, it's all a collaboration, and you're all working together to come out with this wonderful, fantastic piece to share with the audience.
Yeah. I think my lesson on that was preparation is the best thing you can do. It's like what they say about, COVID and stuff. Like if we prepare so well, then it's going to look like we over-prepared. But like, there's nothing wrong with that.
Can you over-prepare?
That I was like, I didn't know what to say to that. Like, that's why I was just looking like, does not compute. Like, I don't know what over-preparation looks like, except for, I guess, when it's clear that you've made some serious decisions that you're going to stick with. Right? Like if we're at the start of the process and you come out strong, and there are other clues about, that you would get. And it seems like we're not going to have like flexibility in this process because you've settled. Maybe that's over preparation, but but that's a stretch, Otherwise, I don't really know what that looks like.
It reminds me of getting ready to go out in this kind of weather. You put on all these layers, and sometimes you get outside, you're like, wow, it's not as cold as I thought. You can always remove layers, but if you don't have enough, you can't put them back on. I don't know if that kind of works for you.
Yeah. Oh, that a little too well. Yeah. Awesome. Cool. Why don't we move on? This is The Hustle. And in this segment, we talk about what actors do for money, for their life. Because for me personally, when I came out of college, I had no idea. I was just like, I'll get a serving job. So yeah, we love to ask actors about, what their day job is, how they make a living while they're doing the thing they love.
Yeah, it is definitely a hustle. I will say that. I do SP work, standardized patient work at Rush Hospital, which I absolutely love, because I learn these cases and I get to be this person. So it's acting, who this person is and what they're going through. And I think my favorite part, which they started at Rush, is the chaplain work. So you have these chaplains that come in. It's a new project at Rush. And the chaplains come in. And for me, I had a case where without dialysis, then, chances are I was not going to make it. So my thing was, I had decided I was not going to do dialysis anymore. So that's a really heavy one. But but I like that because I also feel like I'm helping chaplains, I'm helping med students, nurses, PAs, and I get to also do what I like to do, which is acting. So SP work is one of the things I've done.
Awesome.
Before the COVID started, I was assistant stage manager in the opera department at Northwestern, and that was a ball. I talk about learning a lot as an assistant for that too. And then the other thing I do is Zoom. where you have to get your seat, even though you're driving your own vehicle, you have to get your CDL because you're driving children with special needs to and from school.
Oh, I've never heard of this.
It pays really, really well.
Okay, Zoom.
Nice.
Yeah, Zoom, ZUM. So you have to jump through hoops because you're technically getting a CDL, so you have to take a test and go to a class, but they pay you.
Yeah. Wow. How did you hear about that?
I was playing a game on my phone and the ad showed.
I'll be dang. Look at that.
That's amazing.
Yeah. Yes. So yeah, you get to work where you can. I mean, I've even done. I didn't like it as much. I did Instacart.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And I didn't care for it. And of course, I did the Uber thing. I'm like, oh no. I mean, it's in a pinch. If you need that extra cash, real quick, get in the car.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm really not a fan of Uber.
I did standardized patient work once. The scenario I got was that I was like an elderly Mexican woman who was having pains in her legs but could not speak English. So they're asking me questions. They're like, does this hurt? Does this hurt? And I'm like, okay. Like I had no idea what to say because I was just like, I don't know Spanish that well.
That's so strange.
It was so weird, and I don't know if maybe like I just wasn't the right person to get that one or what. I was lost. I was just like, I don't know what I'm doing, but we had a good laugh afterwards because I was like, doctors, here, check out this card. Because I think this is going to make everything make a lot of sense about why I was just like moaning towards you. Oh, but it was fun.
The case you're talking about was very interesting. I've never heard of that. And,
Yeah, I don't understand why they would do that to you or them.
Yeah. I don't know. It was some kind of a emergency situation like that they were running through. Yeah, it was weird. I wanted to make sure that we discussed your what I presume was your most recent understudy gig, which was Her Honor Jane Byrne with Lookingglass Theater. How was that?
Phenomenal.
Yeah, I bet.
It was great. Jane Nicole Brooks was the director and I believe writer.
Yeah, I bet so, yeah.
So the script, is one of those productions where the script is changing and changing and changing. Mm-hmm. Which is fun and not fun.
Sure.
But it was great. And once again, I was understudying for Renee. Do you know, I had no idea Lookingglass Theater was where it is.
Really?
Yeah.
Really cool castle that I would drive by as I was going down Michigan.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But it's awesome. On the inside too. It's great. The cast was wonderful. Learned a lot. Renee was hilarious in her role as Maybelle Foley. It was fun to watch.
Awesome. And that show, did you guys get to open or was it closed after opening?
We did open, and I think we were only open for 2 weeks, I think, before we wound up having to close up because of COVID.
Yeah.
I got to hear it on the radio.
Really?
They aired it on WBEZ, and at first I didn't know what I was listening to, and as it went on, and then I'm like in my car, and I'm like, who is in this? And I'm like trying to look it up, but I ended up hearing it all the way through the credits, and I was like, it was just really, I just happened upon it, so that was great. It was great. It came through radio like really effectively. Which also means it's well written and a good story. You know what I mean? Like, and people are talented. People are able to tell a good story on any platform. So it really was awesome.
Working with Nicole was she is such a character in herself. I don't know if you have ever seen her work. She's like a powerhouse, as she's going through things and talking to the different actors about what she's looking for or when she's encouraging. I mean, she is just wow. That's all I can say. Wow.
Mm-hmm.
That is awesome. Did you have any understudy rehearsals?
We didn't get to do it because
Ah,
yeah, so we never got to even get on our feet with it, which I'm so sad about. I really wanted. I had some things I wanted to do, and just we never got it. COVID kind of came in and was like, not gonna happen.
yeah, COVID sucked. Well, it still sucks. Um, so we're going to take a break and we'll have more with Nicholia right after this. We're back with Nicholia. Well, Nicholia, you and I met each other doing Casa Valentina with Pride Films and Plays. You're playing Rita, opposite Patrick Byrnes playing George / Valentina, and I was understudying Patrick. That production, like, honestly, kind of changed my life. Like, even though, like, I'm not, like, I mean, I went on for one performance, but, like, I never really appreciated the work that an understudy has to do until I did that part. Because, I mean, there was costume changes. I had to learn how to apply eyelashes on somebody else and myself. But that was just an awesome show to sit in on and be a fly on the wall, just with an awesome cast. And it was so interesting because we talked with Patrick and how Jessica, your understudy, had gone in for you and just how completely on top of it she was. And after I heard that, I was just like, oh, why'd she make it look so easy? But I loved that show so much. I thought it just had so much interesting things to say about masculinity and femininity and gay life and what it all encompasses. What was your exposure to men in dresses or in general up to that point? Like, had you had any special connection with the script at all?
My son is gay, and I knew at a very early age that and he didn't tell me until his sophomore year. But I had already known, but I felt really good that he felt comfortable enough to come and talk to me. So I knew a little bit and hang, when he would invite me out and things like that. So yes, to a certain degree, but I learned a lot again. Uh, and the cast, we really were a very tight knit cast. We had a lot of fun together.
Yeah.
Didn't we?
It was a very long rehearsal process. I think it was at least 6 weeks.
Yeah, I'm glad Michael had the foresight to do that. Graham,
Yes.
he was especially with the changing and the wigs and all of the makeup and the dresses and all of that. So I think that was really needed.
Yeah, yeah, and then I can't. I think maybe among the men in the cast, only a few of us had really ever done any kind of drag or cross dressing. So it was really helpful for us to learn how a lady walks and how a lady moves and speaks and wears a dress and sits down.
Right. This is her dress before she sits down. I remember that was a couple. They were like, "Oh, I didn't think about that."
Yeah. Yeah. It was interesting because when you're understudying a role where you have to be in a relationship with somebody, and like Nicholia and I mean, we'd only known each other through this show. And I mean, I can't remember any time that we got to rehearse before the day of, maybe.
Wait, didn't we have a little time?
I think we had to put in the day of, right? Or maybe the week before.
The day before, I thought. I know we had a little time.
We did, yeah. I gotta say, I think the moment that totally made our relationship real was when you sat on my lap, because it's such a cute little moment between George and Rita. And I mean, I was concerned about it too, because we had never touched. But like, once we sat down and we were sharing that way, it was just like, oh, this is cozy. This is nice. This is easy,
Yeah.
Yeah.
We kept the kiss with us too, didn't we?
Yeah.
I think so. We did keep
Yeah.
it because I know Patrick and I had that moment. It's really interesting because when you don't get, especially when there has to be intimacy, and you want it to be believable. You want the
Mm-hmm.
audience to see that love, that connection.
Mm-hmm.
So for us not having really a lot of rehearsal time between the two of us, I really think it went very, very well.
Yeah.
And I really enjoyed the different choices that you made in your performance. And it was the first time I had worked with an understudy.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. I'm going to tell you right now, kudos to you because you knocked it out the park. It was pretty good.
It felt great. I was very anxious about it because of all the moving parts, but you guys all in the cast were just so supportive. Anytime I had to like be backstage and watching Patrick's quick changes, being in the rehearsal room, everybody was always so kind and generous. And I just completely felt from day one like I was part of the cast,
Mhm.
which you don't always get when you're an understudy. So that was a special one.
Yeah, I have to agree on that one. That was a really a special time, and like I said, I did learn a lot, and working with you as a understudy for the first time was definitely a joy, and it was a learning experience as well.
Yeah, totally.
All right, it's time for the breakdown.
Let's go.
So here is where we pop a question of the week and then we break it down. So this week, what we want to know is, what are your thoughts about award shows?
I think that to a certain degree they're nice because you want to be appreciated for your work that you've done.
Do you watch them when they're on TV?
I used to.
Okay.
I don't watch them as much, no, because some of this is just my opinion. A lot of it's political, and it doesn't really reflect an artist's work and wealth, that they've put out there. So that's why I say some of them it might be useful. Of course, you want to be appreciated for your work, and sometimes they're not useful. And I think that people that should receive awards for their work are not appreciated and they're not given their due at all.
Yeah.
Time and time again.
It's so frustrating when a show that you're in or that you watched and you're just like, oh, you didn't get blank nomination or, good reviews or what? Like, there's so much that goes into like why somebody likes something. So I get that argument as an artist.
Mm-hmm.
But what's weird is like from a very young age, I've been watching award shows like my whole life. And like I specifically remember watching like the 1993, 94 Oscars because Jurassic Park was nominated for a bunch of technical Oscars. And I was like, oh, Jurassic Park. And then I don't know if it was like 98 or 99, Rosie O'Donnell was hosting the Tonys. And I'd never watched the Tony Awards before. I was just like, oh my God. Oh, these are my people. Like, I love musicals. I didn't realize this, but I love this. And it even took me a few years from there to like start to be in shows and think about this as a career. So I have a soft spot for award shows. They often evoke a lot of emotion out of me. And I like the horse race about it too. And I know, again, as an artist, that makes me sick. But as Scott, who grew up in the suburbs, I love like, ooh, which movie's going to be the big one of the year, And I think there's some benefits in like movies like Moonlight or Parasite. These are some movies that people might not otherwise see if they weren't nominated for a bunch of awards. And granted, the people who decide these awards are full of their own biases and full of their own politics. But I don't know, I'm just like don't throw the baby out with the bathwater, right? Like, there are some cool things. I just love raising up the work that I like to see, you know? I don't know. What do you think, Elana?
I don't mind them. I don't watch them as much as I used to. I also grew up watching them, and it was a different experience. What I can say absolutely is that I don't watch um, acting award shows with actors. Because if I'm gonna watch, the way I came up watching them was with my brother, and we were just in it for the event, and he made it a big deal, whether it was the Oscars or the Tonys, and it was always just this fun time, a time that I was already acting. I've been acting for a long time, so I'm already in it while watching these shows. But to be able to just there was never a necessity or need or reason to feel like I needed to judge what was being done. Right? It was like, this is a show. It's entertainment, right? Like, who cares? And most of the time for, like, the Oscars, like, the best movies, I end up watching them eventually. I'm like, that movie is so boring. Oh, my God. But, like, so that I would have that disconnect sometimes. I would hardly ever have seen all of the movies up for nomination or the Broadway shows for that matter. So it wasn't about what I thought about whether or not these things deserved awards, right? It was like me and my brother watching an award show. We got food, he got drink, and we're acting like we're there. And so in my experiences, it took only twice for me to be like, I'm never watching with actors again. Like, it's always this very critical occasion, and like, I actually want to watch the show, and like, for them, the people who I refer to, it's just in the background till something catches their eye that they can criticize, and it's so strange. And so that makes me a little bit sad. But also, I just, most of the time, I don't even know when they're on. So like, my decrease in watching wasn't even necessarily like a decision. Like, I can't be bothered. It's just the schedule and time, and my awareness of them has dwindled. I did enjoy a great deal I like James Corden, but this song, the first year he hosted the Tonys, and he did this song about what theater did for him as a child. And they've got all these people, and he's like singing to like the little chubby boy at home who thinks there's no place for him, and it turns into this big number, and then he has somebody representing himself, like a child representing him. That is one of the most incredible performances I've ever seen, and its messaging just so impactful, even to me, even though I did it as a kid and I kept doing it, but like, that was the place that happened, on an award show. Like, I don't know if that would have happened, who would have gotten that message as James Corden delivered it in any other arena, so like, that, I really appreciated that. And I know he's hosted since, and again, like, I don't even think I watched that whole show that time, but so I think there's space for almost everything, and I think a lot of times, especially with our local awards, we all want to brush them off for what they are, how they happen. But we also all kind of want that nod, like, and some are really strong in their convictions. They'll get nominated and they still refuse to go, and like, okay, but I think they're fine to exist. And, hopefully we'll continue to work on developing who's making those calls, right? Who's deciding how the process, locally and nationally, like, if we can figure that out and make it seem more fair. But all in all, nobody's going to be completely happy, right? Like, somebody's going to feel that somebody was snubbed, or somebody's going to feel snubbed. And so that cycle will, as long as they exist, that cycle will exist, and this conversation will be alive, like, but I don't mind them.
Do you think that it's gotten better, though, as far as nominations for show productions that are they have actors of people of color, in other words?
Right. Yeah. I don't know. I think that there's a great deal of room for improvement. My struggle with that is I don't see enough, right? So it's like I don't want things to be nominated because they're people of color who made them. You know what I mean? Like I want that measure of quality to be as consistent or whatever it is, right? And so I don't see enough of anything with people of color or without, you know, so I don't know their measure, but like I want that level playing field, of course. And you know, I think that things should be acknowledged, but like I don't know the measurements, right? Like, and I can't be like that was so good. I mean, I saw Moonlight, you know, and I was like pleased as pie. Like that was a brilliant piece of cinema, you know. But on the whole, I mean, I want that equality. I want that level playing field, and I don't want them giving out pity nominations.
Exactly.
You
No,
know.
you need to be recognized for your work regardless. I think after like I'm going way back, I think, but like Women of Brewster's Place, definitely Color Purple.
Beloved.
Yes, yes. The controversy with that one was just unbelievable. I enjoyed it, but when I look at things like that, you know, kind of makes me wonder a little bit, and kind of I think put me off a little on watching some of the shows. I will say that I'm so happy to see the work that Regina King is doing. I always thought that she just was a powerhouse in herself, and the myriad of characters that she has played, and I mean when I say she played those characters, she played those characters.
Yes.
You know,
Yes.
I'm so happy to see that, but I would really like to see more because there's so many people of color that are great directors, producers, and you know, and don't really get the recognition or the chance to get out there,
Yeah.
and to show just how brilliant they are.
Yeah. It's crazy because like you look at a movie like Do the Right Thing, and I just saw that movie for the first time like last year, and I mean I've always liked Spike Lee movies, but like fuck, that movie's good. But like I believe Spike Lee didn't get even nominated for a Oscar until BlacKkKlansman. Quick correction. Spike Lee had only been nominated for Do the Right Thing for Best Screenplay and for Four Little Girls for documentary until BlacKkKlansman, when he finally won Best Adapted Screenplay in 2019. I think the issue is that, like, we have this idea of greatness that is actually, like, whiteness or white greatness. And, like, we need to just take that white part and just be like, okay, cool. You're great, you're fine. But greatness is just greatness. And like, and how we define it and is oof, it's impossible. So like I totally understand why awards are like ridiculous, but I still like them, and I think they do have meaning. Like 3 of the 5 nominees for Best Director at the Golden Globes this year are women. That's never happened. And 2 of them are women of color. So like, it's an interesting barometer of like how things are changing and if they're changing. And I know like, it seems like the Oscars go back and forth every year. It's like, it's Moonlight, or it's Green Book, or it's Parasite, or it's Crash, you know, like
Right.
they're so off the wall. But yeah, it's just like there's a lot of breaking down of norms that we gotta just do. That's our work.
I actually have the People magazine, and I think Time, and a couple of newspapers when Halle Berry and Denzel Washington. And they won with that dress that Halle had on. Oh, I have that.
And you know what's interesting that you brought them up, you know, because Denzel, we've seen him over his lifetime really, really bring some incredible humans to life.
Mm-hmm.
And then he played this corrupt cop and got an award for it,
Yeah.
you know, and it's just like, for real? I mean,
He won Best Supporting Actor for Glory. He won Best Actor in a Leading Role for Training Day.
okay, right. And he led most of the movies he's been in. He's
Mm-hmm.
been a lead.
I don't know if he got nominated for Malcolm X, but he didn't win that one. And Glory, he's playing a slave. Is that right?
A soldier.
He was a soldier that was a slave.
That was
Okay, yeah.
right.
Yeah. So so even so, we've got like
Slave and corrupt cop.
exactly.
But this man with this storied career, incredible talent, and that's how we reward his work. You get an award for being the best stereotype you possibly could be. His work in Glory was absolutely deserving. Let us not be it right, and perhaps the same for Training Day.
I'd say the same for Training Day.
I mean, Training Day was fine, but he wasn't. See, for me,
he's electric in it, though.
Here's the
he's
thing.
electric in it.
For me, as a viewer of Training Day, that's like, of course, Denzel is doing that. Like, that wasn't exceptional to me because he didn't have to stretch real hard. Like, he got that in the pocket, and like, yeah, I knew he could do that. I was not surprised by the performance he gave in Training Day. I guess that's how I'm trying to say. Not
Sure.
because it was a shitty performance, but because, like, of course he could do that role. Like, why are people so impressed? Like, of course he could do that. That's what I mean. And he's done something. I mean, he's done some shitty movies. Like, let's not be pretending. But he's done some really incredible, noteworthy things in his career. And that a corrupt cop and a soldier slave, I feel like the one for Glory is better because that he was new to us. And that was an incredible performance, right? And it's like, he got acknowledged for the performance he gave. So, yes, it was a slave, but, like, that was a thing. But by the time we get to the point of Training Day in his career, he's done so much that could have gotten some nods. And then he gets it for the corrupt cop.
Yep. Well, on the plus side is that I believe he's responsible for producing the film versions of August Wilson plays.
Yes.
So hopefully he'll be in a few more of them because I thought he was great in Fences, and he produced Ma Rainey as well, and that was excellent. So
yes. All right.
It's time for props. And in props, we like to point out anybody who was a really great understudy or was a really great stage manager or assistant director on a show, somebody who maybe hasn't gotten their due. Nicholia, do you got anybody for us?
I have two.
Mhm.
So there was this play I saw, Hedda Gabler, and Aisha Humphrey, now Aisha Gold, was in that. And it was so good. I had gone with some friends of mine. This was a Red Tape Theater, but they performed it at Pride Arts.
Oh, okay.
I think it was in a smaller theater, but she was so good that I had gone with friends and wound up seeing it a second time and brought more friends. I've never gone to, and I've seen plays that were really good, but I don't know if I've seen plays that I want to see a second time. And that I wanted to see a second time. And she did win a couple of awards for her role too.
Oh, yay.
So, and that was a little while back though. Didn't you guys do For Color Girls together?
Yeah, and we have the same birthday.
Yeah.
Not the same year. I'm a little older, but yes.
It was so good. So good. Even the second time around, I was like on my feet clapping and like, wow. So definitely her. And the other is Scott.
Oh, it's me.
Nice.
We've already talked about you. I was, like I said, for being an understudy and that was a lot of work, and you just fell right into it as if you had lots of rehearsal, and so.
Thank you. Yeah.
It was a smooth one. I thought it was a great show. So yeah, those are my two.
Yay.
Awesome.
My prop of this episode would be for Claire Hart, who was our assistant director for Casa Valentina. She did so much on that play. She was there at many rehearsals, choreographed our dance to Rock Bottom, and just generally was like our designated female to like tell us how to walk, tell us how to wear a dress, tell us how to sit down. So when it came to that final put in, she gave me such great notes, such great specific things to work on, and just generally was positive and supportive. And you can't ask for more in an assistant director. So Claire Hart is my person.
I second that one.
Yeah.
All right. So, Nicholia, what's next? You got anything that you want to plug coming up?
I did do a show by way of Zoom. It's called Zooming the Movies. So if you get a chance, you can find them on Facebook. And I got to play. Was it Miranda? Was that her name, Miranda?
From The Devil Wears Prada?
The Devil Wears Prada.
You got to play Miranda Priestley?
I sure did. That's all.
Oh, that's awesome. And that's is that streaming somewhere or?
Yeah, you can, if you go on Facebook, you can just type Zooming the Movies, but it's just fun. And I did, like, for me, I did costume changes every time my camera, when I came back on, I had something new,
Yeah.
It's just a fun thing to do with this COVID, and it gives, people entertainment and a sense of still being connected to the arts. Yeah. So, and I think you can go on Kevin Pollack's page too, Pollack, and he has it there too. And you can plug in there. I think they do a movie every week, once a week or something like that.
Nice. Did you like rehearse for that together or just
cold read?
Oh, fun.
Yeah. So you just have fun with it. You just go with it, have fun, and do your thing. Some people have like really interesting backgrounds that they'll do with like a green screen. So it's a fun thing just to kind of check out. So
cool. How about just in your life, Nicholia? Like, how's things? How are you like keeping sane?
Well, I did get my first COVID shot yesterday, and my arm is killing me because I work at Rush, so they want to make sure all the employees. So it hurts, and then in 21 days I go in for my second shot. But as far as I've been using this time just to be as creative as possible. So like I've been buying like furniture from Salvation Army or thrift shops and bringing them home and painting it and designing, my own little things on it, and putting those online to sell. I've been painting a lot with my watercolors, trying to get things together for a show. I did a lot of paintings for Christmas for people for the holidays.
Oh, nice.
Oh.
And I've kind of been trying writing a little bit, see what comes up.
Yeah.
So that's what I'm doing. I think a lot of us have really used our time to be as creative as possible, and stay away from the bed because it's really easy. I'll listen to audiobooks all day and do a puzzle on my computer and be just as happy as I want to be.
Yep. Same. Well, that's awesome. No, I didn't know you did that kind of stuff.
I have to show you some of my pieces. It's a lot of fun. It's just a way to, be as creative as possible and still make money while you're doing it.
Yeah. I mean, you have a website. Like, how do we see your stuff if we want to buy some?
Yeah, that's what I think I'm going to do. I've been working on a site. And the thing that's so funny is that when I post it, like sometimes I'll put on like OfferUp or the marketplace on FB, and it's gone. So what I think I'm going to do is take the pictures from the pieces that I've already sold and put up there anyway, just so I have things.
Yeah.
Because I don't have a lot of space. I got all this furniture in my small apartment now. And I really need to get like a studio space, but something that's not going to break the bank. Yeah. So I have some place to to keep these pieces at. Yeah. That's my biggest problem right now is selling it quick enough so I can bring another piece in.
Yeah. Well, that's fancy.
Yeah, I try.
What's up, Scott?
I've actually been doing this creative course, I guess. My friend Steph Sharaska, she is like a creativity coach, and she started this like 30-day program called the Darling 15. She goes by Steph Darling as like a stage name. So it's just been like I get an email every day saying like, hey, take 15 minutes to draw, a self-portrait, but not taking your pen off the paper. I think the other day was just to dance for 15 minutes. She suggested to do it like those wind things with
yeah. The inflatable.
Yeah. Dance like that. So it's just been good stuff. And I mean, the first day was to write something, and I really haven't written anything just like for pleasure in a while, without the idea of like, oh, I'm going to produce this or oh, I need to make this for good for something, just to create it for creation's sake. It was weird because like I did it and it was only like a page, but like afterwards, like I wanted to work on other stuff, and I was just like, oh, I'm getting this creativity bug like flowing. So that's been really cool, and I've been enjoying that.
Excellent.
Yeah. What about you, Elana?
I was crocheting a little bit, and then I wanted to crochet some more, but I didn't let myself do it because I have other things to do. And I didn't even have anything I wanted to make. I was just gonna crochet like one long piece of nothing just because I wanted to do the activity. But then so I made myself stop that because that seems stupid. But then I figured out something I wanted to make, and I'm not gonna say it because it's not time yet. But I've been crocheting. So that's fun.
Yeah, cool. Nicholia, thank you so much for joining us for this episode.
Yeah.
I've had so much fun with you two today. This has been great. I need to laugh like this more often.
Yes.
Yay, I'm glad you had fun. Thank you for being here.
Yeah.
Thanks for inviting me.
Yay.
We hope you enjoyed our conversation today with Nicholia Q. Aguirre, and that it gives deeper insight into the art of understudying.
If you'd like to ask a question or give a suggestion of someone we should interview, you can send an email to understudypodcast@gmail.com.
Or hit us up at understudypod on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram.
We want to thank all of our Patreon subscribers, especially Marcella Huff and Stanley Sava. If you want to support the show, head over to our Patreon at patreon.com/understudypod.
Our theme song and all other music are by Laura McKenzie.
Thank you so much for listening. If you liked it, please hit subscribe on your podcast player of choice and tell your friends.
And if you hated it, tell your enemies.
And their parents.
And their grandparents.
All
right, bye, y'all.
Bye.